So, ArenaNet posted a roadmap for the future of Guild Wars 2 from this upcoming month, November 2020, until May 2021, and something they call the Icebrood Saga Champions. Now, the naming here has gotten the community all bundled up, making fun of how confusing the naming scheme is, like the Icebrood Saga Champions Episode 1, which is Episode 5 of the Icebrood Saga. Like, all that aside, this roadmap is interesting because it has the community very torn up on whether or not this is good or bad or amazing for the game or terrible for the game. Personally, I think those far ones are just, both of them aren't really accurate. I wouldn't call this amazing for the game, I wouldn't call it terrible for the game, but I suppose that's up to the individual to decide. Personally, I think that what we're getting is okay considering there is an expansion coming out. But here I'm going to go over the roadmap and what we will be getting in the next half year-ish of Guild Wars 2 and go over what I think about it. So, to start, it's the Icebrood Saga Champions. Now, people have been confused on whether or not this is a new season of sorts. I think that this is just them spreading out the finale of the Icebrood Saga into this multi-part finale that they think would be more exciting. I don't think it had that effect, unfortunately, but so they've basically given us what's going to be coming in every single month. They talk about how it's going to be a living world finale featuring new story, repeatable content, new rewards, new achievements, and new masteries. In the weeks between releases, each chapter will continue to evolve with new content and ways to play. They say that they're diving deep into development on the next expansion, End of Dragons, and since their work in Cantha is currently too secret, today they wanted to share some high-level look at their living world and festival plans for every month from November 2020 through May 2021. Essentially what I just said, but that's the article. Now, to give what they give here, they say high-level look, but this is actually pretty vague. So I don't think this had any real effect on anything. It's fairly vague. Next month we will be getting Chapter 1 Truce on November 17th, likely a week or so after the Steam release. We don't know what's going to be really in this update, aside from maybe those new response missions I'll get into. We don't know if there'll be a new zone, we don't know if there'll be a new strike, none of that. December 2020, Winter's Day, the Halloween event, okay. And then January we'll have Chapter 2, Power. Again, we don't know what's going to be in it. February we'll have the Lunar New Year, another festival holiday event. March we'll have Chapter 3, Balance. Again, we have no idea what will be in this update. And then obviously in April you'll have your Super Adventure Festival, super fun. And then in May there'll be Chapter 4, Judgment, which will clearly be the finale of the Icebrood Saga as a whole. Now, they say here that this timeline is independent of their release plans for Guild Wars 2 End of Dragons. I don't really think that's the case. I see people using this as like an excuse to say maybe End of Dragons will come out before Chapter 4 Judgment. I think there's basically a 0% chance of that happening, honestly. While they may say they're independent, chances are End of Dragons will be after the Icebrood Saga concludes. It wouldn't make much sense otherwise. And then they go into how this is going to be an earth-shattering story finale. It says, "You've always been a leader, skilled at bringing people together to protect what they hold dear. Now the treachery you uncovered in the north has left your allies shaken, and you'll need to rely on the bonds of trust between you to survive what is coming. The Icebrood Saga's conclusion will be felt throughout Tyria, even across the seas." Obviously that's implying Cantha and End of Dragons. I think what they're trying to do is hype up that this finale will have more lasting stakes than previous ones, which I think that Balthazar, Crocodile, like the last few stories I think did have somewhat lasting stakes, so I don't know if this really is exciting as they thought it sounded, but if they do have some major changes and fundamental changes to the world coming because of this, that'd be awesome. Really, really dig into the old stuff and change it. But that's all talk, it's all, ooh, it's going to be a big story, big finale, and a bunch of titles for patches that we know nothing about. Here's what they talk about in regards to actual new content. Replayable dragon response missions. It says, dragon minion incursions have thrown once peaceful lands into chaos, and there's no predicting where the next attack will erupt. Each chapter of the Icebrood Saga Champions, that name, introduces new dragon response missions, which can be tackled solo or in a group of up to 5 players. In these encounters, you'll head into invasion points to shore up defenses and protect the area from rampaging dragon demons. Work together with allied reinforcements to neutralize powerful dragon champions, the ultimate threat at the heart of the assaults. This basically sounds like a fancy dynamic event, but I do like that it's soloable, and I like how it can be done with up to 5 players. I really think Guild Wars 2 could use something like WildStar's Expeditions or WoW's upcoming Torghast. Really good scaling content for a small group of players, or solo if you don't have people online at the time. Not saying MMO should have all solo content, but I do think having solo content is important because not everyone is always in the mood to play with a raid or a group. I think these could be pretty cool. I do think these could be a fun piece of content that the players might enjoy. It depends on if they're fun or if they're challenging. These don't really feel like a new endgame feature like strikes were, but again, they could be fun, a new fun mission type, a new fun thing to engage in. We'll just have to wait and see until November when the first one or first few come out. Next, they talk about befriending allied factions, which they say it's Tyria is full of people, loyalties, priorities. During global faction mobilization events, players can pitch into train, rally, and build trust with factions both familiar and unlikely. You'll be rewarded, and your allies will randomly appear in dragon response missions. This kind of sounds like reputations in a way, like from other games. Like you just build your reputation with a faction, then you'll get rewards for it. Seems pretty standard to me. Again, that could be a nice form of replayable stuff to do, even if it's not too new. Then obviously you have your achievements, masteries, rewards, yada yada yada. And we'll be getting voice acting in the next few for No Quarter and Jormag Rising, which is great. I'll replay No Quarter for sure, and I'll replay Jormag Rising too. I think that overall, this is okay. We still have to see what is coming in these updates. Because we don't know if it's going to be like a tiny update, tiny update, tiny update, tiny update, or if it's going to be small update, big update, small update, big update. Like, is it going to be bigger than your typical episode? Is it going to be smaller? Is it going to be way smaller? We'll just have to see. Like, people are saying that this is the death of strikes. That's not necessarily true. They could have just not announced strikes in these yet. That would be weird, but we still have to wait and see. Overall, that's really the only major takeaway from this. Wait and see. Like, they haven't given much info here. They said you get new dragon response missions and new reputations, and we're splitting up the finale of the Icebrood Saga. That's really it. That's really all the information you got. So I think all the uproar is really unneeded. I don't really think people seem to think that they're calling this like a sign of the times that the game is dead. Now, I played WildStar for years. Please do not talk about a dead game, because you are very privileged with your game to be calling it dead when it's still getting regular content updates, and even though the management on those updates is admittedly pretty weak and there's no clear vision, at least you're getting new content. Trust me, it sucks to not get new content in your game. But yeah, I think I'm cautiously optimistic about this Champions thing. I'm hoping that the new content is substantive enough to keep me interested and others interested. Because if Guild Wars 2 is my next option for a main game, if say Shadowlands isn't good. Right now it's always been like a secondary. So I really hope these series of updates are good and meaty enough to keep me playing and keep others playing. But overall, ArenaNet's high level look wasn't too high level. It feels like something more a janitor might find on a lost USB file. But I'm still interested to see where it goes, and I'm excited to hear more information and see the trailer when it comes in a few weeks. So that's basically my thoughts on the Guild Wars 2 update. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. I hope you guys are interested in this update as well. If you feel like commenting, tell me what you think about this. Are you worried that the game might be dead? Are you hopeful for the game? Do you think End of Dragons will be a good update? And do you think that if these are smaller updates, do you think it will mean a better expansion down the road? And is that better? But thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening. And I hope you guys have a great one. Take care.